Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of Talkin Schmoedown. I am your host, Josh the Merc Raynor, here with episode 66. And we're going to talk about a couple of really good matches, I got to say. We got to see some more team action going on, which is always fantastic. A bit more of the reckoning. We even got an FCL coming in from there, and I'm excited to talk about it. So yeah, let's get into things. So today we're gonna be talking about Alana Jordan versus Brother Lomis. Good match there in the Innergeekdom division, as well as Ben Bateman taking on Rick the Rager Raddus, the self-proclaimed greatest 3-0 player. Yeah, Rick Raddus there. Didn't quite work out so well for him this week. So yeah, but we're gonna get into that a little bit later. I want to start off talking about this previously on. Now, I kind of like to go through all the various things, the scenes and the production type stuff of the show, because it's stuff that I enjoy. And this previously on, I gotta say, I really like how they're teasing up non-match stuff. It gets you wondering. So like we got to see some stuff from the fan favorites in this one, and I'm like, okay, are they going to be involved somehow? Is the opening match going to involve them in some way? But it didn't. It wound up being something that happens not within a match, which I thought was really cool to see. However, I thought they added a little bit too much of that, especially with the stuff for the movement, specifically, JTE and THE, the Paul Preston, because they weren't even there. And so, like, they showed a bit too much of their stuff. I think just teasing the fan favorites would have been fine because it would have kind of led up to what was coming. I also feel like overall, the previously on was a bit too long. It kept. I mean, we had already seen almost everybody who was in the match the previous week, and the only person that we didn't see was Alana Jordan because that happens during the show, and so I think they spent a bit too much time essentially recapping what we just saw the previous week. I get why you want to do that, but you don't want these previously ons to drag on too long, in my opinion. So I think they need to cut those back. There were some story issues, some production issues, I feel like, with this episode, but I'll talk about them kind of as we go along. We got our first scene, our cold open, so to speak. We have Christian meeting with Shannon and Mike, telling them his plan for the teams division and the singles division, as far as corruption goes. They're not happy about what Shazam has put on the table. Corruption having to split up, or specifically Mike and Chance having to split up if they lose the match against Shazam, if they choose to take it. They're not happy about that, and I don't blame them. It's a big decision to have to think over. I was listening to the rundown, and they had said that they are the longest running champion level team that's left. Like we do have like the Wild Berries, though they had broken up for a while, and we do technically still have the Real Rejects. But as far as like champion level teams, they're the longest running one right now, because they formed during Anarchy, which I think was like season 5. And so if them splitting up would be a big deal, really. And so I get it. I get that they wouldn't be happy about that. And then Christian drops a singles bomb on Mike and tells him that, for him to start his path to the title, he's going to have to go through Paige Fribetti, the rookie sensation who came out and took down Ben Bateman last year after calling him out. So it's not an easy task, I think, for Mike. they didn't seem totally down for that either. But I guess, I mean, as we see, they've already booked this match, and I'm going to have more to say about all that later on, because when Paige comes out at the end of the episode, she makes it seem like I'm really jumping ahead here, but she makes it seem like she's challenging Mike, and we already know that that's on the table. I think what she should have done is she should have like called Mike out to make a decision. But like, we know, Mike, you got to go through me if you want to get to the title. So if you want to get that title, you got to make a decision. I'm here right now. Let's do this. Something along those lines. But to me, it felt more like, even Ella said it. She was challenging Mike, where it's like, really, that was already the way it was set up. And then Ella says that it's on the books. Like, Mike didn't even make a decision. Christian told him to think about it. There was no thinking about it, as far as we know. You know what I mean? They hadn't shown us anything about whether or not Mike actually accepted. It's just on the books. And so it's like that right there. It's kind of like the storytelling, the writing of it and everything was kind of off in this episode. It just, I think they need to kind of work out the kinks when it comes to that stuff. And then there's the stuff at the end, which I'll talk about. I'm not going to jump to there, but there was some stuff in the end credit as well that just, I wasn't a big fan of the way it was kind of written out and everything. But like I said, we'll get there. Then we had another scene with Christian backstage. I like this scene because it felt like I was watching wrestling. When you're watching like Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite, and you go backstage and people are doing stuff, whatever, interacting. It really felt like that, more so than some of these other produced scenes, like even the one that we had just seen. This one felt more like that. I don't know what it was. I don't know what was different about the styling technique or whatever, the filming technique, but I don't know. I really liked the look of it. We had, like I said, we had Christian backstage. The Reckoning approaches him. Rick Raddus not happy. He's pissed, actually, about everything that went down the week before. Essentially considering Guy not a legitimate player and all this other stuff. He doesn't consider it a legitimate loss. And, Brother Lomis kind of calms him down a bit. And Christian winds up offering Brother Lomis a match in the Innergeekdom division. He's never played in this division before. This would be a first for him. He kind of plays it off in character as if he doesn't really know much of anything about all that. I think he answered like one, I think it was like a Turtles question or something like that the week before. I can't remember what he said it was. And so he kind of, in storyline, Christian offers it to him based on that, which I thought was really funny. And he accepts, and it's going to be against Alana Jordan, who, for those of you who watched the FCL last year, you know who she is. She had like 4 or 5 matches in the FCL, unfortunately, and she spanned most of the divisions, I believe. I know she had a singles match. I believe she had a Star Wars match. Both of those she lost, and I think she had 2 Innergeekdom matches. I think she was 1-1 in Innergeekdom last year. And outside of that, she, like, in the actual Schmoedown, she's only had 1 match. It was like back in 2018. It was a 5-way Innergeekdom match, which she, I think, was like one of the first. I think she was the first one out. So it's like her record's not great, but she is one of the most entertaining people that you'll ever see on screen. It's ridiculous. She's hilarious. And so that's what we start with. We start with the Alana Jordan Brother Lomis match in the Innergeekdom division. Like I said, she's an incredibly entertaining competitor, and she came out with these fake braces on. I remember a while back, she was, I think it was, I don't know if she talked about it on Twitter, but she at least was talking about it on Facebook, about how she wanted to get like professionally done fake braces. And that she, this was like a long thing that she was trying to get done. And like she had finally found a place that would do them. And it was a place that did like stuff for movies and whatnot. And these are like film grade fake braces, and they looked awesome. And like they didn't slur her speech or anything. Like it was perfect for what she does. And so I thought it was just hilarious because like I remember going through like seeing her post about all that stuff, and so then seeing her actually using them, I thought was hilarious because like I was like, oh shit, I know exactly what those are. And so I thought that was really cool that she was wearing those. And as her nickname says, she is the Punisher. She punishes you with puns, so to speak. And they were on point, man. They were on point. Lots of points. My pun game is not quite as good as hers, but I try. And I gotta say, Lomis's character work this week was a significant increase from last week. So much better. Both him and Rattus, really, because I talked about how last week they just seemed lackluster during the match. Like they had their stuff going in the scenes and in the pre and post match stuff, but during the match last week, it wasn't there. I don't know what was going on last week for them, but this week, man, yeah, they had it. I don't know what's flipped for them, but they were both in it this week, which I thought was fantastic. I wrote down this note. Lomis claimed that he abhors dancing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was last week we saw him dancing with Rick Raddus, which I thought was funny because like when they re-showed that clip, I was like, I feel like he's he shouldn't be dancing. That character probably wouldn't like dancing. And then he literally says that, which I thought was pretty funny, but it did contradict what he did. But that I feel like, I don't know, that just made it even more entertaining for me. And Lomis did incredibly well this first round, man. I was like, for somebody who's never done Innergeekdom, I was very impressed here. He only missed one question, so we got 9 out of his possible 10 in that first round, which is fantastic. Alana, however, not so good. She only managed to get 5. She was really struggling throughout this whole match, unfortunately. Like I said, she's hilarious and entertaining to watch, but her trivia game needs a little work. If she, I mean, I want to still see her like do stuff, but it's gonna have to be kind of more like just fun matches that don't necessarily hold a lot of weight, unfortunately. But unless she decides she really wants to get into it and start, because like the top tier players, they study crazy amounts, and so like it is if you're gonna compete, you got to really compete at that level to kind of stay with them. So and it's fine if you just kind of want to be mid-tier. That's totally cool. Those are still fun to watch. Watching Josh McCouga is still hilariously fun to watch. Watching the Real Rejects, like they have knowledge, but they aren't the kinds of people who are just hitting the books like crazy and flashcarding it up and all that stuff. Maybe they do some of that, but I don't believe that they're doing it that much. They're just kind of coming in with the knowledge that they have and there to have fun. And those, I love seeing those types of matches as well. So I would have no problem seeing more stuff like that as well. So like I said, Lomis taking the lead here, 9-5 outside of the first round. We get into round number 2, and Alana is up first, and she winds up landing on Hasbro. Now, I had a big problem with this category and the way it all kind of shook out. Hasbro, to me, when she first hit it, I was like, okay, cool, man. They're going to get some interesting questions here because there's a lot of possibilities within Hasbro. But all 5 of her questions were Transformers questions. This isn't a fucking Transformers category. It's supposed to be a Hasbro category. And there are a ton of different film franchises that could be in this category. And there's no reason for it to just be 5 fucking Transformers questions. And I wholeheartedly believe that if there had been a mix of these Hasbro properties, that maybe she wouldn't have done so terrible. So I wrote down a list of all the all the ones that I could find that are really owned by Hasbro or based on Hasbro products and things like that. So outside of Transformers, you've also got the G.I. Joe properties, My Little Pony, Clue, the classic film Clue, Battleship. I know the movie's not very good, but it's part of Hasbro. Dungeons and Dragons is owned by Hasbro now. Power Rangers also, Gem and the Holograms, the Trolls movies, even the Ouija movies. So like there's a lot of options here that you could get in a Hasbro category. Now I understand, this is Innergeekdom, but if you're gonna have a Hasbro category in Innergeekdom, then you're gonna have to put in more than just the fucking Transformers movies, or don't call it that. Call it Transformers. Don't sit there and call it Hasbro and then not include things like G.I. Joe. The Dungeons and Dragons movie, that one Dungeons and Dragons movie that went to theaters, I think it would fit perfectly in Innergeekdom. You may not like the movie, but it would fit perfectly in here. As like I said, would I think G.I. Joe. And you could put, lots of Power Rangers. I'm pretty sure I've heard Power Rangers questions in here before. So at the minimum, you could pick and choose ones that you think would fit better in Innergeekdom. But there's a lot of options outside of Transformers, and I really don't like that. That's kind of what it went down to. I don't know how it got past the people who write the questions, who set up the categories or whatever. But having all 5 of those questions be Transformers shouldn't have never happened. It just shouldn't. Now, a couple of them could have been Transformers, sure. But you got to mix this up. That's like saying, here's a comic book movie. Oh, you land on a slice. It says comic book movies, and it's all DC or all MCU. Sure, all of those are comic book movies, but you should really be getting more than that. Or like the swashbuckling one. There's that swashbuckling adventures slice. It's like saying, okay, you landed on swashbuckling adventures, and every single question is about Pirates of the Caribbean. Yes, that counts technically, but it shouldn't happen like that. It shouldn't go down that way. But that was my big rant about that. I was not pleased. I've been thinking about that ever since I watched it. It's been rolling through my head every day. I've been thinking about it. It's because it really bothered me. And she did really poorly because she didn't know that one franchise very well. When theoretically she could have gotten a My Little Pony question, maybe she would have gotten it. I don't know. Maybe she's really into the movie Clue, and they could have asked a question about that. Who knows? She might have been able to get some points if it wasn't just Transformers. And again, if the category was called Transformers, we would not be having this conversation, because then of course it would be all Transformers. But if you're gonna call it Hasbro, let's mix it up a bit, guys. Let's mix it up. But like I said, she did really bad here. She missed her first 4 questions and allowed Lomis to wind up with 4 points worth of steals. She got 1 multiple choice question at the end, so she only wound up getting 1 point out of her entire round, which not great, man. Unfortunately, not good at all. And Lomis winds up spinning TMNT, and he dominates this category so much so that we get a KO win here, 21-6. I believe that's the first knockout of the season. I'm pretty sure it's the first knockout of the season. I know we've had a TKO thing, but I think that was the first knockout of the season. And then Alana then continues to be entertaining in the post interview. So and we get to see a bit more of Rick Raddus and Brother Lomis doing their thing. Again, like I said, really they really kind of kicked it up a notch character-wise during this match, which I thought was fantastic, because last week it was so lackluster. It was not what I was expecting from either of them, really. and I was glad to see them no longer struggling under the lights to keep the character flowing. All right, then we got our next match: Ben Bateman versus Rick the Rager Raddus. We get a scene to start this off. We got Rick Raddus confronting Ben Bateman as he continues to say that he will easily beat Bateman. You know, he is, like I said, that self-proclaimed greatest 3-0 player. And he then grabs this random guy who's walking by. I have no idea who this guy was. I'm assuming he's just like somebody who works in the back. Maybe he's a writer. Maybe he's like a camera guy. I have no idea who he is. But he grabs this random guy, and he asks him to. He tells him to ask him some 5-point questions. You know, he's going to prove that he's got the knowledge here. And he starts reading off these questions, and Rattus is just nailing them. Ben's like, "How? You know, I don't know these. How the hell do you know these?" And he just nails them. He gets all 5 of these things right, and then Bateman takes off, and Rattus, we find out, is paying this guy $175 to read questions that he had already prepared the answers for. I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." I thought it was a really good scene. It really helped to solidify this character and his cockiness and how he's willing to do whatever it takes to kind of get the upper hand no matter what. I really kind of liked that a lot. I thought it was really funny as well. And these 2 players are probably two of the biggest personalities we've got. It's crazy to see personalities like this clash because you never really know what's going to happen. It's wild because Ben has been doing this for a very long time, and so it's hard to kind of shake his character at all, to get under his skin. And we see how kind of like unshakable he is throughout this match. Rattus really trying to get to him. Even Lomis kind of snaps at one point at the beginning here, because, you know, Guy's out there with him. He's his manager for this match, and he like tells Guy like tells him like shut up or something, and he just like Lomis just like snaps, and Team Action just plays it off. They play it cool because they are pros, man, at this, and they right before the match even started were able to get underneath their skin enough to do that. I thought it was beautiful to see, I gotta say. And yeah, Guy is incredible. I gotta say, I'm gonna be sad that we're not gonna get any more Team Action stuff. It's a bummer. I love seeing them. I'm so thrilled that we finally got them back, but I'm glad that we got what we did. So I'll say that much. I love that Guy tosses the little whiteboard and then goes and like gets Ben's big one. I thought that was fun. It was a nice nice little thing for him to do as a manager. You know, it really worked. The way he did it just screamed Andrew Guy. Just the loudness and the cockiness and the demanding attitude behind it all. I thought it was done really well. And like I said, the Reckoning, they tried to step up to Team Action, got kind of essentially shot right back down. And so it's hard to mess with them, especially when they're together. When they're together, it's a whole nother level, man. And so we get into round 1, and I gotta say, some of these questions I felt they were giving away a bit too much information. I don't think it's that big of a deal because it's round 1, and they're supposed to be a little bit easier. Not, you don't want them to be so easy that it doesn't matter. But I feel like, because we saw this happen in previous matches with like round 3 questions where they're giving away way too much information and just essentially giving away the answer. And the writers really got to watch out for that, because you don't want that happening. You don't want to be giving away answers, especially in higher point questions. I mean, it's not what you want to see. Rager goes on to get a perfect round, but is unable to get his bonus. Ben only a point behind him, 10-9 in favor of Rick Raddus here. Then we get into round number 2, and Ben spins DreamWorks. And we talk about how, having a manager really can be beneficial. Like the whole last 2 years, it was really all about that. And I think that if Rattus had an experienced manager who knew their stuff, that I don't think this challenge would have gotten by. I think that a good manager would have caught the fact that Secret Life of Pets is not a DreamWorks movie, and is actually an Illumination movie, and they would have challenged it, and the question would have gotten thrown out because it doesn't belong in that category. And then who knows if Ben would have gotten whatever question they chose next for him. But what I thought was even weirder was that Andrew Guy comes out like 3 questions later to challenge that question. And I'm just like, at first I thought maybe he was just doing a bit, and maybe he still was. I'm not honestly sure. But like, if they had accepted the challenge, you know what I mean? Even though it was long past the time for challenging, if they had accepted the challenge, that could have screwed Ben over, theoretically, because that was 2 points that he had gotten on that question. Like, he answered the question, the other team didn't challenge it, so those were his points. So like, I don't 100% know what Guy was thinking. I think he heard that and it's like, wait a minute, and I think he stopped kind of paying attention. You know what I mean? If that was a legit challenge, I don't honestly know if it really was. And because what would have happened if they had been like, okay, well, challenges, accepted, and then Ben doesn't get the next question right or whatever. Who knows? That would have sucked. Though I doubt that Ben would have agreed to it. I feel like Ben probably wouldn't have. But if they would have allowed Guy to challenge it, they probably would. Then they would have had to have allowed the other team to challenge it too. Even if Ben had said no, they would have then been able to challenge it. So like, it was close to opening up a really weird door for the game, for his new partner there. But luckily Ellis shot it all down, and we just kind of moved forward. But yeah, they really gotta keep track of those things. If you're gonna have a category, make sure the movies that are in it are part of it. Like I talked about with the Hasbro one, make sure you got a nice diverse assortment. But also make, like with this one, with the DreamWorks one, make sure the movies are actually in that category, because DreamWorks and Illumination are 2 very different companies. All right, so Ben did struggle a little bit during his round. He did manage to do pretty well. I think he got like 7 points total, but he did give up a steal, so it wasn't his best run, but it also wasn't terrible. It wasn't like what we saw with Elena, unfortunately. Fortunately for Ben, unfortunately for her. He did well enough, obviously, but he could have done a little better. I think that steal. I was listening to the rundown, and Frankie was talking about how after that steal, people were like questioning. Oh, is he gonna lose? Oh, is he gonna lose two matches back to back? One to Paige and then to Rick. And I'm just like, it was like at that, I think it was 2 points because of that, a 2-point gap, and that was it. And I'm just like, and it was like right at the beginning of the round, and I'm just like, why would that make anybody worry, really? Ben's a top tier player. Now, if he had then gone on and missed the next question, then you start to worry. But he missed one multiple choice question. Not that big of a deal. You don't really start worrying until you get into Rattus's round and see if he just starts popping off answers, boom, boom, boom. Then is when you start to worry, But with that, I wasn't worried at all. I was like, okay, really, to me, what it was just it all it did to me was it made it so that it looked like Rattus had gotten like his bonus, because if he had gotten his bonus, that score would have been the same. It's like if he had gotten the bonus and then missed the steal. Okay, if that happened, I don't think anybody would have been saying, "Oh no," especially if the steal had been missed, because then the score would have been the same. So I think there was that was a bit too much. Like I don't know how to a little overreaction, I guess you could say. I wasn't a fan of that reaction from Frankie on it. I was like, nah, I really don't think there was many people. Maybe there were some, but I really don't think there were many people who were freaking out about whether or not Ben was going to win this match just because he gave up a 1-point steal. I really doubt that. So then Rattus goes up and spins 1990s movies, and he was not able to capitalize on this category whatsoever. Only got 3 points total out of here. Ben was able to pick up some extra points as well. I think he picked up 3 points as well. Yeah, because Rick missed three questions going multiple choice on them. It's just a lot of big misses here. That Cruel Intentions one, that was a big one. That was a big one. And then in round 3, he right off the bat, he misses a Pixar question. Essentially thinking that Onward was an Oscar winner, and I'm like, ooh man, like that's stuff you really should know. It's so recent, it was the Oscars themselves were less than 2 years ago. It was like a year and some change ago. He really got to know that stuff. And I feel like, I don't know if he was getting in his head. I don't know if Ben was getting in his head or Andrew was getting in his head. I don't know what it was. But after that first round, he did so well, he just really slipped and wasn't able to kind of get back to it. And he was able to, thankfully for him, avoid the TKO. He did get his 3 and his 5, but it really wasn't enough because Ben was able to win after hitting his 3-pointer 24-22. And the Rager is no longer 3-0. He is now 3-1. And during the post interview, Rattus proclaimed himself the greatest 3-1 player of all time. And I thought that was hilarious. I hope he does this. He just continues to do this. No matter if he wins or loses, he could be 4-6. And I want him to be like, I am the greatest 4-6 player to ever grace the Schmoedown. I want him to I want this to stay. I want this to be part of his gimmick. I love it. During Ben Bateman's post interview, Guy gets real with us, and he tells us Team Action is not getting back together, unfortunately, and that he is hanging up the belts. That's right, all the belts. Where are the belts? They're being hung up. No more Champs Lunch, no more Where's the Belts, no more Team Action, which was sad, but I understood. He's retiring from gameplay so he can focus on being on the desk. Really giving that's where he wants to be. And I'm happy for him. He seems to really like where he's at, but it was great to finally get to see that version of Andrew Guy one more time, technically 2 more times, I guess you could say, and to see Team Action play one last time. He went out on top, had like the greatest game that he has ever played. I'm pretty sure, he went perfect throughout that game. He pulls Sam Levine, and he's going out on top, man. On a win during a perfect game, man. There's nothing better than that. Nothing better than that. So kudos to Andrew Guy. I'm so happy that we were able to see him, and that he's happy himself. And then, like I said, I was talking about Rick Raddus a little bit. he has now lost to Bateman twice between the teams and the singles over these last 2 weeks. So it makes me wonder if we're going to see a little feud grow here. Ben's already got a feud with Paige growing, and so now maybe he'll have a feud with Rick Raddus growing too. He's gonna want revenge. I feel like down the line he's gonna want another chance to try to beat him, whether it be in teams or singles or whatever. He's gonna want that chance. So I'm sure we'll see what happens. And on a side note, as I said, I had watched the Schmoedown Rundown, and Rick Raddus was on their most recent episode, and he teased the possibility of this loss kind of causing him to drop his gimmick and get more serious. And I'm curious if this is a thing that's going to happen or not. Will he actually repackage himself? I don't know. Only time will tell, really. So I'm actually I'm interested. I like his character, but I do think it can only go so far before it really starts to kind of wane on people. So we'll see what happens. I'm interested in what he's going to decide to do. Who knows when the next time, will be that we see him, have a match, because, the team lost and then he lost. So he's kind of down on the pecking order right now a little bit. So I think it might be a little bit before we see him again. So I don't know. Then we got Adam Whit and Paige Fribetti come out. Like I said, she's now on the fan favorites. That's the big thing. We got in the previously on, we saw the fan favorites. They were teeing something up, and this is what they were teeing up. He comes out and announces that she is now the Boston Badass on the fan favorites. And like I said before, she made it sound like she was challenging Mike, as if the scene at the beginning didn't happen, which if it hadn't happened, then that would have been fine. I think that would have been interesting if it had happened the opposite. Like if maybe they had come out at the top of the show and done this, and then at the end of the show, we had Christian go to Mike and say, well, she challenged you. And honestly, I think that's your best way to get, back into position for the singles title. I think that would have actually been a much better way to kind of roll this. Again, I said the writing, the story writing in this episode wasn't at its best. And so hopefully they can kind of shake out those kind of creases in their writing throughout this. I know it's kind of new. This whole thing is new. It was Christian doing everything prior to this. And I feel like he's probably not just doing it by himself now, the story writing, because I feel like that'd be a lot. I'm sure he is, doing the majority of it, but I feel like there's probably a writer's room of some sort. And so hopefully they don't let stuff like that happen again. But then we got this end scene with Jacoby. He's outside. He comes. He's like, where is he? Where is he? Oh, I got to find him. And he comes around the corner, and there's Mark Riley standing in front of a big hedge. And he's like looking at leaves, like picking little leaves off. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, my first reaction really was like, is Mark Riley going like crazy? Did the Schmoedown come back and they messed with his head the way they did with Andrew Guy? Like, that was what I was like originally thinking. And obviously that wasn't going to be a thing because they ended that whole Schmoedown thing. But I'm like, what? Why would you do this to Mark Riley? Make him like, this seemed just like weird to me. And I didn't realize at first what it was referencing, to be honest with you. And even after finding out that this was a reference to the Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, the whole after and the little plant and everything. But it to me, it didn't fit character-wise, storyline-wise, to have him acting that way. It's funny to see. It's a cool reference, and I get maybe they were trying to tie it back to the night that Mark won his second title and he came out in the karate gi, doing the whole Daniel LaRusso thing. So he went from the student and now he's the master. I get it. That's cool. But again, I just don't think it was done very well. I think they could have done something a lot better than him just being like all like not wanting to talk and just like transfixed on a bush, and then be like, "Oh, who are you?" I don't know. It didn't work for me. I like I said, I get what they were going for, but it didn't work for me. I do like the idea of seeing Jacoby kind of being mentored by Mark Riley. I think that'll be really cool. Maybe Mark will be his manager or teammate. I don't know, but I do like that idea. So I am interested no matter what happens. And I wanted to add a little something here at the end. I've been kind of trying to keep track of things that I think might wind up in the Schmoedown Awards for next year. And I think we have, I'm going to say, 3 possible picks already in these just a few short weeks that we've been into season 9. We've got a few of that kind of stuff. We have a comment here. We have Alicia saying, I like Paige, and sure, she beat Ben in the past, but I really don't think she'll be much of a challenge for Mike if that match happens. I think on a normal day, I would agree with you, but Mike can be hit or miss when it comes to singles. That's what I'm going to say here. I think it was not last year, but the year before's tournament. Perry Nemiroff took out Mike in like the first round of the first or second round of the tournament, and it was the biggest upset. It was the biggest surprise, I think, of the tournament, and so you never know, and Paige has already shown that she is a powerhouse. Ben is a high level player, and it all depends on if Mike's having a good day. Really, the thing is, Ben only focuses on singles, whereas Mike focuses on singles, Innergeekdom, teams. He's split a lot of ways, so if he's not having a great day, man, anything could happen. So I'm inclined to think that Mike is probably going to take this one, but I'll never count the Boston Badass out for a single second, because I think we're going to see good things from her. But yeah, so some of the picks that I have so far for what we could see in the Schmoedown Awards for next year, I've got match of the year, obviously, Marisol versus Sam. I don't think we're going to see a better match than that. And if we do, holy shit, this will be the season of seasons, man, to have. Because this match is arguably one of, if not the best match we've ever seen. At that Marisol Sam title match, it was absolutely incredible. And so if we do manage to get another match that's better than that, or even comparable, oh man, this is good. You already know it's gonna be a great season. It's already been a great season. So then I already have our moment of the year, team action reuniting. I mean, come on. Like, I don't know what else you can do to top that, man. We've been waiting so long for that. Now, maybe some people who weren't around during that may not feel that way, but a lot of us out there who were there during the team action time and seeing this happen, it was the best. I was so incredibly excited when Andrew Guy came out that curtain. It was something special. It was magical. It was fantastic. And then, speaking of Andrew Guy, comeback player of the year, guys, come on. Now, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a stretch because he'll have only played one match, but he came back and did what he did. I mean, come on. That's at least worthy of a nomination for comeback player. Whether he wins it or not is another story. We got a long season to go to see who does what, but I mean, I think that's worthy of a nomination at a minimum right there. So, but yeah, that's all I got for you guys this week on episode 66 of Talkin Schmoedown. Thank you very much for joining me today. Be sure to check out all my other podcasts over on the YouTube channel and on the podcast forum. You can follow me at Movie Blog Merc on Twitter and Instagram, and Merc with a Movie Blog on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and click that little bell right up at the top there. If you're listening on podcast form, if you're on Anchor, be sure to leave me a voice message. I always love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, leave me a 5-star review. That would be fantastic. It helps me, get seen in the algorithm and everything. And I'll read your stuff out. If you leave me a comment, a 5-star review comment, I will read it on air as well. And like I said, be sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Really looking to build that up as well. And yeah, thanks again, everybody. I am your host, Josh the Merc Raynor, and we have been Talkin Schmoedown. Catch you guys next week.